Wow, when I graduated from here, I was on such a high. This whole experience here elevated me as a person, my growth as a person, my self-confidence. When I left here, there was nothing I couldn't accomplish. I could do whatever I wanted. There was no challenge I couldn't rise to. You never know what direction your life might take and what kinds of opportunities come your way. And when I finished with my PhD, although I at first was looking for academic positions, an opportunity came along for me to open my own company in a slightly different direction than clinical, and that was in the area of speech technology. And I decided to take that opportunity, and my life has taken a whole different slant as a result. However, what's wonderful is that because I had the absolute best core preparation, especially here at Ohio University, through the School of Speech and Hearing Sciences, that I never felt like I couldn't do anything that I wanted.
My generation, women can do whatever you want. And so, you know, my life goal at the time was to get a job and work my way up the corporate ladder. I'm very lucky that, that the skills I learned in my classes and in my major, I use to this day. I think the skills that I learned in college that have helped me along my career path have been the outside of the classroom type of experiences of being able to be a well-rounded leader. There was this group of College of Business students, about 10 to 12 of them, they were called the corporate leaders. And I remember sitting in, as a freshman, looking at them and saying, that's where I want to be in 4 years. I want to learn how to, you know, be a well-rounded student, an excellent student, a well-rounded student to get to where they are today, where they are. And you know, I looked at that goal and looked at what they did and what I needed to accomplish to get there. And I think that's a huge thing I learned, is that, you know, you set your mind on something, you see what people can accomplish, and you learn how to reach that goal.
As I approached my junior year, I got the opportunity to have an internship at a retailer, Limited Brands, which is where I work now, and that really exposed me to the area of public relations and community relations. And ultimately, I did not become a reporter. I went into PR and community relations, which is what I do today. I definitely expected to use my education. In the journalism school, it was kind of drilled into us that if you were a good writer, you could really do anything. And so I knew that the skills and the education that I was gaining through scripts was going to help me in whatever it was I decided to do. And that has definitely been true. That has come to fruition. I use my journalism education all the time. My life would have been very different if I had not gone to college. It has definitely, in hindsight, I think really has fueled the volunteerism and the community work that I do today around helping to ensure that students, wherever they're from, have access to higher education. I just think it's very important that everyone has an opportunity to pursue higher education if they want to. Because I, again, was exposed to so many different people and so many different things, it really reinforced that belief to not judge a book by its cover. You don't know what people's experiences have been or the road that they've taken to get where they are. And so that curiosity has stayed with me, and I think a large part of that is because of the experience that I had while I was at OU.
I think I was a little surprised at how important the things that I learned not connected with the classroom, how important those were going to become. I learned that, and I also learned that if you have a Phi Beta Kappa key, you should tell people you have it when you're looking for a job, because I got 3 really good jobs through that. You had to be able to do the work first, number one, and not be afraid. I was never afraid to try things. I went to that chemical company, and man hires me and I get this job and I'm supposed to be judging all these things. Had chemistry in high school, that was it. I had an A, but high school chemistry was not the thing. And the B.F. Goodrich Chemical they were the people who devised vinyl for vinyl siding and all that. And I traveled for them. That was unheard of in those days for a female to travel. There's one other lady who had a job like that, but she was, see, I was what, 21, 22. She was in her late 50s and she had done this for years and years. But the thing I remember about that was funny, they never put me on the same plane as the men. The men who were analysts, we would go someplace, we were all going to go to New York. I was never put on the same plane with them, nor could I stay in the same hotel with them. So they would put me, I mean, they had a suite in New York at one end of New York, and they put me as far away from there as you could. I thought, well, okay, but they didn't know what to do with a female, I think, is the trouble.
My position in my student organization, I'm president of Student Alumni Board. So I've seen a lot of different things. We have 8 committees and we do everything from philanthropy to fundraising to membership to internal, anything across the board. But we do connect students with alumni. So I've had many opportunities to be able to either meet alumni and connect them with students. One of our biggest events that we do is called Bear on the Bricks. It's a nearly naked mile. It's a clothing drive. We collect all of these clothes on Court Street and people run down in bathing suit attire down Court Street in the middle of February. And we had turned 100% profit last year. We didn't pay for any of it and went to good works. So it's, I think the biggest things that I've noticed being on here, like my biggest events, my biggest memories are from philanthropy.
Finding one's voice is very, very important to me. And I know this because in 1969, when my dad was shot down, and I'm in Athens and I'm surrounded by a lot of friends who are part of the peace movement, and I'm trying to find my way in all of this, I was told by the Marine Corps that there was a strong possibility that my dad could be a prisoner of war, could be alive. And if he ever saw pictures of me protesting, it could be used against my dad, which in effect shut me down. It silenced me. So my friends who could see everything in black and white, it's this, it's that, for me it was always gray. It was very, very gray and nuanced. And I used the whole creative process to find my voice. I found my way to film school and then was able to use everything that I had learned. And you can take those skills and they can become filmmaking. I did a film about my dad, about his being missing in action. That film got the attention of CBS News. Suddenly I moved from Boston to New York, and there I am with Charles Kuralt on a show called Sunday Morning. Not because that was part of a plan, but because I had been prepared to think and to be excited about ideas. So there I was, and was able to enjoy a terrific career in New York, met the man that I eventually married, and he was in Washington. So I moved down to Washington, and then again, using all those same skills about how to think and communicate, created my own company, Video Action, and created a work environment that was where I wanted to be. I learned a lot about community and community building and the importance of supporting each other. I mean, for me, Ohio University was a womb. It was a place where I, in this period of time where separating from family, but yet dealing with the loss of my dad, had the comfort and space to be able to really hurt, but also begin to heal. And that was because of the men and women who became my friends, the professors who took a keen interest in me, who were not undone by just how emotional I was about this incredible trauma that was happening. It's all those systems of the people that we need to have around us to live fully was the gift of Ohio University.
Being a broadcast journalism major, my dream was always go to Today Show and work for the Today Show and be an anchor or something. But my goals kind of changed, and now I'm a news producer, which totally fits into what I was doing all 4 years here. I just didn't really kind of realize that that was going to be my career until the end of senior year. It was always kind of an option, but I love it, and it worked out really well. And it's nice that Ohio University gave me the options to do a lot of different things. I feel like I could get a job, not an anchoring job at the Today Show, but I could get a job in a bigger market or in a different city. But I love where I am, and Ohio University gave me that base that I need, where I could stay where I am right now, or I could go up a little higher if I wanted to. So I wouldn't have the career I have if it weren't for WOUB and my experience at Ohio University. So it definitely helped. 2008 presidential election, I was working at WOUB, and a news director from a TV station in Cleveland came down and wanted to find 2 TV broadcast students who would be willing to help cover the campaigns, the Obama and John McCain campaigns in the southeastern Ohio, Columbus region. I was one of those students, so I had basically 10 weeks until the November election. Every week, shoot, edit, and write our own news stories based on the campaigns. I was in charge of the John McCain campaign. So I was put in touch with John McCain's spokesperson in Columbus, and every week I'd kind of touch base with him. The thing that made me feel really good is we would write up our story, and then the news director had to okay it before we could actually put the story together. And I remember the first time my partner and I sent up our stories, and he didn't change a thing. And we were like, all right, like, we're clearly doing something okay if a news director in Cleveland doesn't change anything about our stories. So that was cool. That kind of took the pressure off, and it wasn't live, so we didn't have to worry about that. He specifically came to Ohio University, came to WOUB looking for students because he knew that our products were good and that we could handle that.
What Ohio University did was to make me believe that, sure, that's perfectly reasonable. That'd be perfectly possible to do, because it was a university that let you try things and encouraged you to do different things, different combinations. So I never felt like, well, you're studying this, you should stay down this path. You could do anything. I've had a career where I just assume that it'll work out. And I think that really was fostered here. It was not part of my earlier approach in life. And there was, because you came to the university and you really could try things, and many people were trying things, in an environment that felt safe. Doesn't mean that you weren't going to fail, but it would be okay. We would figure out a path. It had a huge effect on me.
We got married between our junior and senior, and then we lived in the Quonset huts, that the city owned up on Highland Avenue. I think because I came from a family that assumed that I would go to OU, because I was the first granddaughter, or grandchild really, out of 18 cousins that went to college. High University was such a miniature world, and when I lived in the sorority house and I lived in the dorms and I had leadership roles and then I worked, it made me a stronger person, taught me independence. College did help me, definitely did. You've got to be able to play, and you got to have fun with other people, and you got to learn to get along with other people. And that is very important. And then when we got out of the Air Force and I came back with Bob to manage the Sportsman Restaurant, and I did that for 27 years.
I got into a fight with my advisor in the honors program. I was doing a thesis on women's image in literature. And what struck me is that if you look at women characters in the novels that I was looking at, like Jane Austen and all those people, the female characters were so much more interesting because they were inherently outsiders, because they're always outside of the mainstream of society. So I came up with this idea that women characters are the first existential characters, that they were the people who had the potential for full engagement in life, the way male characters didn't. It seems kind of silly now, very silly, but the English department was totally unaccepting of that. Under existential theory, they said women is other, meaning that women didn't have the capability of being fully developed human beings. And so I wouldn't back down from my idea that women could be fully evolved. They wouldn't back down from their idea that women didn't have the potential to become existential beings. And as a result, my thesis was denied, and I got an incomplete and was told I couldn't graduate unless I changed my view, which I didn't. And I thought, I've got to do something else. So I thought, all right, what could be something that I could do? I remembered when I was a kid, I wanted to learn how to drink my tea without sugar. So every day I looked at the 2 teaspoons of sugar that I'd normally put in my tea, and I'd take off a grain at the beginning, and then I'd take off a few more. And I thought, in a whole year, if I take off some grains of sugar, by the end I will have learned how to drink tea without sugar. And I thought, aha, you know, the sugar grain theory, that could apply to my situation at Ohio University. Just have to do 1 sugar grain every day. Doesn't matter, I'll just remove it. And at the end of my time here, maybe I wouldn't have made a difference outside, but inside I will have changed myself so that I feel like a sugar grain at a time, I'm somehow standing up for the equality of women. And I started to do that, and I found that at first it was really easy. I could just raise my hand and say women could do that in class or something. But as time went by, it got harder and harder to think of something every day. So I ended up putting an ad in the newspaper and saying, if you're interested, come and join me. And then we had a bunch of us doing things. Then I started looking for opportunities to speak, and then I came up with the idea of a radio program, and eventually became such a loudmouth that President Sol, when he arrived, said, all right, it's time to put your money where your mouth is. And he hired me essentially as a journalist to spend a year interviewing people at every level of the university, writing a report summarizing the status of women at the university and coming up with recommendations which would move women into greater equality. So we were way ahead of the curve. I was able to take chances here, and if I succeeded, people kind of put me back in my place in a nice way, so I didn't get too crazy about it. And if I failed, there was always a community to be supportive, and that's how you learn confidence, I think. You find that you don't overreact to success or failure. You have enough support that you're able to just keep going. And that's what Ohio University has meant for me. No matter what has happened, there's always been a community and an attitude and a depth of support which has been there for my whole life and has helped me to take on challenges feeling confident that I can live with the outcome no matter what.
I did end up going into the Army, and I thought, well, that would give me a good break before pursuing my master's. And then the Army, the military, became my career and my profession. And interestingly enough, I found over time I was involved in different aspects of the Army and at Department of Defense level with uniforms. And so I did have input as far as when we would think about going through changing uniforms and all of the different aspects that play into that. So there was always a part of me that felt, okay, I'm using my degree to some extent.
Even after graduating from college, I went right into a teaching position in Dayton, Ohio, in high school home economics. And again, around the city, I would coordinate style shows for them because I'd always loved and enjoyed being in fashion. We then moved, and I thought I was going to the end of the world, but after 4 years in Dayton, we moved to Nebraska. What I did again is I went back into teaching, so I taught and had wonderful experiences in my teaching, taught 2 years in high school, and then the community college asked if I would do some tailoring classes for them. Again, I felt real strongly about being around while my children were, at this point, they were getting into the junior high and high school, and I thought I really need to be around for them. So I started teaching in my home. So I would do tailoring, different clothing classes, and then I started a home business with lighter fabrics. I would show fabrics within my home. I ended up opening a business called Shopping Trips. We prepared baskets, with any theme that you wanted instead of flowers, and we shipped pretty much all over the country, showing people how they could change their wardrobe around by using accessories and jewelry, and then promoting our baskets. Then my husband announced that we were making a move. He had sold his companies, so we ended up moving to Columbus, Ohio. And I thought, I'm done. I am retired. And instead, I ended up becoming a district sales manager for, again, a direct sales company called the Tanner Company, which was Doncaster, and ended up with 50 people working for me over the state of Ohio and West Virginia. And it was all in clothing, so it was great fun.
Then film just became a big reality. I helped with 11 other people to start the Tennessee Film and Music Commission in '78, and my ex-husband and I then in December of '80 moved to Atlanta, and then I got hired 3 weeks later to work for the ABC affiliate in Atlanta. And so I got in the Directors Guild, the first woman out of Georgia, and I became the AD to go to if you wanted to break in. And that was my way to give back. I was not let down from the moment we had our orientation at the Convo. This is an amazing experience. The world is transforming. We're at OU, and it's really a great day today. Let's go have fun, and let's figure this out. And that's how college and OU happened. And expectations were, I might cry here, far and beyond fulfilled, you know? Without Dr. Jerry Krebs, who I can now call Jerry, who was my mentor in Soch, without him guiding me to understand, I am definitely going to cry, that you have to look at all aspects of culture to do film, and you have to love the written word. So therefore, I had a minor in English because it's about that. And every single thing, every day was that, understanding that, and that's what it was. And then when they started IGL, In-Group Limited, and 500 of us could apply for a membership to see auteur films. First time I heard auteur, and I'm seeing Last Tango in Paris, or I'm seeing a Jean Genet film, I'm seeing, oh my God. And then going back to Jerry in his office and going, okay, in this film there's something about Marxism or zeitgeist, or there's something about this. Can I give you my deductions? And him methodically taking me through that was OU, you know? It was that, and that is what guided me and still does. So I get really sentimental about this, and I'm thankful for him for that and for OU that way. I wouldn't have had such a successful film career.
I was meeting with my advisor at the end of my sophomore year, and she's like, what are you going to do with this journalism degree? I said, I'm going to D.C. and I'm going to work on the Hill. I want to be like a press secretary for a congressperson, because I loved political science. Frank Henderson and James Barnes were like my gurus. They challenged us in those political science classes. I took every one I could. And so I said, I'm going to work in Congress. I'm going to be a press secretary. That's what I want to do. And Sandra Haggerty looked at me and she said, then I think you need to go to law school. And I'm like, why? I said, press secretary. And she said, well, everybody in D.C. is a lawyer. It's 3 more years of your life. You'll be 25 years old. You'll have the world by a string. But I think you should go to law school. She really changed the trajectory of my life. She changed the course of my life. And I did really well in law school. So I got to be a trial lawyer, which is what I wanted to be. I was a judge at 32. I was one of the youngest elected common pleas court judges in the state. I got to be the CEO of my own business at Nationwide Children's Hospital, a $30 million book of business with 400 employees. And then I've got to sit on the Ohio Supreme Court, the 153rd Justice, the first African-American woman ever. So all of that I contribute to my start here, because I think young people have to believe in the future, believe in the possible. OU gave me that. I learned to be a leader here. Carol Harder, my first example of a woman in power. I'd never have forgotten her, because she was the role model for me and for many other women that were here during her tenure. So I give OU a lot of credit for who I am today and making me believe that I had what it takes to be successful. And I think that's 90% of the journey. You got to believe it's possible. The rest happens.
You really grow up when you're at college, at least most of us do. You know, I went from being a teenager to an adult in this environment.
And Ohio University was transformative for me. I know it's transformative for many, many people.
I challenge you to have friends who think very differently than you, people who don't think that you're right all the time, people who see the world differently from you, because I do think that's what makes you a better person. So those were the unexpected gifts that I got from OU.
I think Ohio University, on the one hand, gave me a community that's sort of small and close, on the other hand, it opened up the world to me.